name is Justin Anderson, and today I'll be talking about dissociative disorder. So, to start off, there's no real specific date for the development of this disorder, and the oldest recorded study of this was in 1791. And as years progressed, this disorder has started to become more present. Scientists were thinking that schizophrenia and also the rise in fraud was causing this huge increase in the disorder. So, the oldest recorded study of this was in 1791 when a French woman believed she was German. She spoke like she was from Germany. She did tasks like they were from Germany, and she had social norms like it was from Germany. She believed she was German, but in reality she was French. So, what is dissociative disorder? That's a small definition. It's just a connection disruption. But in long terms, it's just the disruption between your memories, surroundings, actions, and your identity. So it makes it really hard to understand yourself, and it makes it extremely hard to do tasks. The record by NAMI, or National Alliance on Medical Illnesses, recorded that only 2% of the population has this disorder. But this disorder is hard to identify or diagnose, and some people, they might have it, but they just don't want to be diagnosed. They don't come in to be diagnosed. These are some evolutions. The first one, they put it into the book in 1952, and they believed that anxiety was the cause of it. In 1968, the new version of it came out, and they started to classify it as historical neurosis. Just being confused, just forgetting, not being able to actually know yourself. There's the DSM-3 in the 1980s. Then they coined dissociative, a disturbance in normal integration functions of identity, memory, and consciousness. There's the evolution continued. Okay, oops. This is DSM-4. They started creating criteria like, are there more than two personalities present at a time? Will one personality take over in a certain situation? Does one person have memory problems? Can they not remember what just happened a little bit ago? Can they not remember their past? And also just thinking to yourself, what's happening around you? Why can I not remember these things? Then we have DSM-5. This is the current one. Believing that amnesia, so just forgetting, is the cause of disorders, creating everyday tasks really difficult. So some causes that they have currently is the physiological, emotional, and sexual abuse. These are just past or current events that stick around and create who you are, and this can cause problems, hurting problems. There's also combat natural disasters like PTSD, where you become different. You just don't feel good. You don't feel like yourself. Some symptoms, there's more, but I'm just gonna do the ones that are on the list. There is self-harm, mutilation, cutting yourself, hurting yourself. There's sexual dysfunction, just not feeling sexually driven by anything, just not feeling aroused. There's depression, anxiety disorders that also play into fact. And then there's also the physical reactions, like headaches or non-epileptic seizures. How to be diagnosed? You go to a doctor. They assess you on 3 tests. Physical test, they want to see if a physical factor is affecting this, such as being lightheaded, or you're just not sleeping well, you're tired, you're not eating well, you're not getting the nutrition you want. There's some drugs that are affecting you in that way. There's the psychiatric test, which is talking about how you feel. What are some things that you're thinking right now? There's the criteria of the DSM-5, which we just went over in a little bit in the slides. Some treatments is the psychotherapy, just talking to someone, trying to create a plan how to cope with this. Some medication, which are like antidepressants, anti-anxiety, and psychiatric drugs. And then if you compare the past to the future, not much has changed. We still use talking as a way to treat it, or numb it down. We also use medicine to try numbing it down, but we still don't know the full effect. A story is by Sandra. She was a soldier, but then has sudden change in her personality. She started to become more depressed. She started to become hostile. And one of the biggest things is she started to have this second identity. Sandra herself was a calm person, but when something arose in the environment that threatened her, Mary came out. Mary is her second identity, and Mary dealt with everything that was harmful to her, and that's how she dealt with these threats. So when we're talking about school of thoughts, there's a structuralism, like structuralism, psychoanalysis, cognitive. Those three are pretty similar. They just want to know how you are thinking, what is the root of the problem, and like what is going on in your brain. Like what do you think is happening? There's a behavioralist feeling that, oh, we're just this way because of our past, because of a certain stimuli activating these emotions. Humanists believing that, oh, they're just this way for a reason, and we just need to help them figure out to cope with them and how to figure out themselves. Social cultures, just their culture, society, just putting pressure on you to act a certain way, and so it creates this momentum of confusion. There's functionalism, which is like, how can this help me with survivability? And then there's the biological standpoint, which is like, how do we study the brain? What is happening in the brain? So we kind of use medicine to try manipulating the brain to help figure out what is going on. So that concludes the end of the presentation. So thank you for listening.